You may remember that in episode 50, we talked to Britaney Phillips to preview a high seas analog mission which she was just about to go on. Well, it's 10 weeks later, and we've decided to find out how it went and get a full debrief.
Yes, Britaney is back from Mars, and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Please continue to get in touch with your thoughts on what we're up to. We're at Space and Things 1 on Twitter and at Space and Things Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, or leave a review on your podcast platform.
And don't forget to hit that share button. It does really help us out. But right now, enjoy episode 60 of the Space and Things podcast.
Oh my God! Unbelievable, but isn't it great to touch?
You are listening to Space and Things with Dave Giles and Emily Carney.
I'm Emily Carney.
And I'm Dave Giles, and welcome to episode 60 of our podcast. I'm back again with a sore voice, having just finished 8 gigs in 5 days. But alas, the show must go on. But at the start, I just want to say, Emily, is it just me, or does it seem like everyone is releasing a book right now?
Yes! Yeah, Al Worden and Francis French have a new book, The Light of Earth, which is amazing. I've actually read that one, and it's beautiful. I've actually also read, I spent like all night, Saturday night, finishing up a long voyage to the moon.
The Ron Evans book.
The Ron Evans book, yes. It's by Geoffrey Bowman, I think is how his name's pronounced. And I've been waiting for this for like years, and it really lived up to the hype. It's beautiful, and it made me cry because I'm like, man, I wish I could invite Ron on the show, because Ron Evans would have been awesome as a guest. I wish he was still around. He seemed like genuinely the nicest person. So everybody's got to read this book. It was worth the wait. Eileen Collins and Jonathan Ward have their new book that we just interviewed them last week about it. And Nicole Stott, who we interviewed a few weeks back, also has her new book, Back to Earth, which I have not gotten a chance to read it, but I just got a copy of it.
I've ordered all those books and they've not arrived yet because obviously UK, but the one that has arrived for me is the Apollo Murders, the Chris Hadfield book. So he's done a alternate history book kind of thing, hasn't he?
Oh, wow.
And he has the craziest signature ever. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do see it. It looks sort of like...
kind of Deathly Hallows Harry Potter vibe to it.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God, that's so funny. I've been curious to read it. I'm like, has Chris Hadfield done a murder and he's just leaving clues in the open now, or what is going on? Like, have you read any of it yet? Because I'm like,
I haven't had a chance.
Okay.
It arrived the other day, and I've been super all the gigs, super busy. But
understand? Yeah, I'm curious to read it because I'm like, I love alternate histories, and I'm like, the Apollo murders. Okay, what's going on here? Is
exactly.
He just is he just like, I killed somebody and he's put it right out in the open? I'm joking, Chris Hadfield. So yeah,
I'm guessing it's all gearing up for Christmas and trying to get people excited to buy books for Christmas. And I'll put links. Well, I'll just put a list of all those books in the show notes. You can go and find them yourselves. But if anyone else knows of new books that are coming out that we've missed, please let us know. But yeah, I'm hoping I get those books soon, because I really want to read the Ron Evans one and the Al Wilden one, because obviously the follow-up to Falling to Earth, which is just incredible.
Here's a minor spoiler for the Al Worden one. I do show up in the book briefly.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice.
I do have to admit, I've read it a couple times since I've gotten it, because I want to write an article about it, and it just will remind you of how loved and missed he is. That's all. But I won't spoil it too much. Wonderful. It's wonderful.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful.
Well, yeah, book time. So anyway, let's crack on.
And from every window, we have a really spectacular view of the Earth, and as well as the what surprised me, the real blackness of space. I don't think I've ever seen black as it is out here.
So, as we said in the intro, it's been 10 weeks since we interviewed Britaney Phillips just before she left to go to Hawaii to join the Valoria 3 crew to partake in a high seas analog mission to Mars. Just a little reminder that high seas stands for the Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Simulation, and they perform both Moon and Mars analog missions, and it's run by the International Moon Space Alliance.
I'm sure many of you followed this mission on social media. Well, if you follow us on Twitter, we were retweeting most of the updates, so you would have seen those updates. But do go and listen to episode 50 if you haven't done so already to find out what Britaney was going to be doing. But now she's back, we really want to know what it was like to be living on Mars for 2 weeks.
When you were a little girl growing up in Akron, Ohio, did you say, gee, I'd like to be an astronaut someday?
No, I really didn't think about it until about 4 years ago when NASA announced that they were looking for astronauts who would be engineers and scientists on the space shuttle. And it was accidental that I heard about it, and I just took a chance and applied.
Let's just go right into the interview. So, Britaney, thank you so much for joining us once again. And let's get straight in because we've been dying to know, how was your mission?
Oh, it was incredible. You hear those things and you're like, oh, yeah, was it really life-changing? This definitely was. And in some of the ways that I wouldn't have originally thought of, you know, Emily, you can kind of relate with your Navy experience, but kind of that camaraderie. It was so nice to have that again. There were 5 of us, and that's all we had for these 2 weeks. And luckily, we became really, really close. There were no issues. There were none of that, no personalities clashing. And so I really got to experience some of that camaraderie again that I haven't since I left the Air Force. I have 4 incredible and talented friends that I look forward to getting to see again soon. And of course, we've already planned meeting up again and taking all these trips and stuff together. But by far, with anything, I would say the best part of it was the people that I got to experience it with.
Fantastic. You're sounding like Alan Bean there.
I mean, it is, because I've never been to Hawaii before. I've never gotten to do anything like this before. And so while the experience was all new, getting to share it with incredible people that are not only extremely talented, but are just so kind and compassionate, like, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee you're going to get on with everyone, is there, when you do these things? So that's a real bonus. That's an absolute bonus.
Yeah, well, and as y'all know, we had a little bit of a hiccup right before our mission started. But honestly, I think that brought us even closer together to where, you know, we started off already kind of trusting each other a little bit more, and just already kind of having that mutual respect for one another.
Yeah, I can see that being really important. For those who are listening who don't know what the hiccup was, there was supposed to be someone else on the crew, and he got dropped about a week before they were due to leave because he put some inappropriate tweets up about his crew members. Idiot. Anyway, when you're doing these kind of things, and I know this from my own projects, when you're in an enclosed space with a small group of people for a number of people time, even if you get on really well, there are still obviously highs and lows. So was it all good, or were there some lows?
For me personally, it wasn't all good, but it really had nothing to do with experiences that were happening there. Being a mom and having kids and having my husband at home, being a single dad while I'm gone, and, you know, email being the only form of communication we have for everything, I was still getting all the emails from the school saying, your kid had a potential COVID exposure. And so kind of realizing that life went on, even though I wasn't at home, you know, even though my husband and I had talked about this before, we had made this decision together, just having some of that guilt. And like I said before, I've been away for multiple things with the military and all of that. But I think really just kind of being isolated and not being able to hear anybody's voice kind of made it sink in a little bit more.
Of course, because we forget that we've all got mobile phones these days. So we can still hear each other's voices normally, even if we're far apart. But in this situation, you weren't able to. So absolutely, I can see where you're coming from there. Did the whole experience give you a new appreciation for what the astronauts are doing on the International Space Station with their long duration missions and what they have to go through for that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, they're gone for 6 months at a time. And, you know, luckily they are able to have a little bit more communication because they're in, low Earth orbit, but still you have comm blackouts and you have, your busy daily schedule that you have. So it definitely provided a lot more respect. And honestly, I got a lot more respect for my husband because he went through so much while I was gone, not just with the kids, being a chauffeur and a bus driver. We closed on a house while I was gone. And so he had to sign for me. He moved for us. And so I definitely got a good one. So shout out to Brett. You're the best.
Last time we spoke, you talked about some of the experiments you were going to run during your mission, such as the hydrogen fuel cell experiment. Tell us a little bit how your, the experiments went, and, just sort of, I'm going to try to roll two questions into one. What was it like to do EVAs, and things like that? What was it like to do spacewalks and wear a spacesuit?
Yeah, they fit perfectly together because pretty much most of my research I had to do while on an EVA. Yeah, my hydrogen fuel cell, it was awesome. I first started out with, getting it set up and getting it working and testing it. We had 2 windows in the hab. And so I put it in the labs window. That way it was kind of out of the way of everybody, just to kind of see if I had a functioning fuel cell and all that. And then, the first EVA that I got to take it out on, I just set it up right as we went outside. And within a couple minutes, it was working really well. Got some video of me working on that with my GoPro, kind of walking through, explaining it to my students. And then I got to bring it in and set it up and test it with a breadboard, so a small circuit, to show that this was water. I put it in the sunlight, and this is what happened. And it's provided the energy to run these. It was just little LED lights, but just showing it in a unique way and being able to test it. And that's already a technology that's being used on Mars. Not so much the hydrogen fuel cell, but the solar panels, the solar arrays, because that's what recharges the batteries on like the rovers and stuff like that. So we can utilize technologies that are already in place for some new applications, especially to help with long duration missions and human missions as well.
And you just mentioned it there, that one of your driving forces behind doing this, and you mentioned this in the first interview, was your students and trying to inspire them. How have they received what you did and what you've brought back from there, the lessons that you've brought back from the mission?
Well, we're getting into the lessons right now, so we're just about to start that. But, of course, as soon as I got back, they're all like, oh, tell us all about it. And, I can't give it all away just once. I got to kind of leave them waiting. So I'll give them little snippets here and there, show them videos here and there, add in some little stories. But I got even more out of it for my students and for the applications than I could have ever imagined. On a daily basis, there were things from, my engineering reports to EVA requests that are lessons that I teach in each one of my classes. And so being able to provide that firsthand experience in such a unique environment is really cool. And I'm, it's an ongoing thing. It'll be going on. But they are super excited, and they know that we're getting into the energy unit, and they know that it's the Mars unit. So they're pretty excited.
I love that. That's so cool. God, that must be so exciting for them. Well, I'd be excited anyway.
So, you talked a little bit about the delayed, the communications back home, how you still got emails while the time, and you're still sort of dealing with stuff back home, even though you're gone for a few weeks, and what did this experience teach you about, yourself?
It showed me that I had strengths in areas where I didn't really think I did. And one of those, oddly enough, is in the communication aspect and being able to communicate. I was not only able to communicate with my family and then doing the reports and stuff with Capcom, but with my students as well. and help them with ongoing lessons and getting them set up for success. And I was so fortunate that my really good friend Jamie was my social media manager, I guess. So I'd email her stuff and she'd be posting it for me. And I would send her these random kind of like outside the box things that would come up. And one of them was one of my students is one of my seniors wants to go to Purdue for AeroAstro. And I was like, oh, I need to get her in touch with somebody, an astronaut from, that's where all the astronauts, not all the astronauts, but so many astronauts have gone through the Purdue AeroAstro program. And so I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, oh, who can I do? Who can I reach out to on Twitter? And she was actually able to help me get in touch with Srisha Benjali from the Virgin Orbit launch. And so we've been communicating, and she's excited to talk to my student and help her with the application process and, just kind of talk about what it's like being a female aerospace student and all that stuff.
And you did that all while you were there. That's incredible.
I couldn't have done it without my support system back home. And that goes with everything, where with my family, with my friends, with those helping with my students, all of that. It really shows that it's more than just what's happening on orbit or what's happening in space. It really takes a village.
Oh, nice. Nice expression, that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is kind of a...
Hang on a moment.
Go on.
I need to write that down. That's a lyric there. Right, hang on a moment. That's a great expression.
Cheers to that one.
Yeah, cheers.
I have kind of a very obvious question, and I am somebody who's never been to Hawaii, and I hope to go someday, but the pictures of the area surrounding the habitat, obviously you made EVAs around. I mean, it just looked exquisite. Can you describe the sort of the landscape for me, and why do you think they chose that type of area for the mission?
It was incredible. It really did look otherworldly. There was hardly any life. You'd find little bits and pieces of greenery and plants trying to make life in the lava fields, but we were just completely surrounded by lava. Couldn't see civilization at all. The visual isolation aspect that really played into it and really did make you feel. And it was so cool getting to look outside. Our main window is like pointed straight at our Olympus Mons, and that was Mauna Kea, the volcano. So, and we could even see the observatory on top, which was really cool.
Nice.
Not only is everything like black and red, but just that isolation. And when you're out on an EVA and you're walking through this, like the terrain everywhere, we got to experience all the different types of lava flows, from the really nice smooth pahoehoe. That's what we tried to stay on and walk because it was the smoother one. And then we had the lava, which is, as Michaela explained it to us, and we realized very quickly, it's like going into a ball pit with a bunch of sharp, jagged rocks. So we stayed away from that as much as possible. And then we had cinder as well. And so cinder is from, when the fissures or when you see the spewing lava to where air gets into it. And so it's very, very light. So you can have a huge cinder rock and it's just, super light as a piece of paper almost. And so that was really cool. And then we had all the lava tubes. We got to go and do an EVA in the lava tube. Nice. And that was so unique. We're going underneath the ground through these tubes where lava once flowed. There's no light once you get down in there whatsoever, other than the torch that you have. And seeing microorganisms thriving in those areas and adapting, that was so cool. We saw, we called it space snow, but it was, or I think it was like space cocaine or something. But we're gonna go with space snow. We're gonna go with space snow.
Space snow.
We're gonna go with space snow. But it was like this white powdery organism that was like on the ground and stuff. And it's something that's adapted to being in that type of environment. And that was really cool to see and witness that. But I believe that they chose this area not only because of the terrain and, Mars is a very volcanic planet. There, we have Olympus Mons, but they have probably, I think Mars has more volcanoes than Earth does. And so that would be something really realistic that you would experience going out and witnessing and being a part of. And then actually the area that High Seas is placed on is an old area that was decommissioned. So they had already had something there, like mining. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was already an area that had work done on it. And so they weren't going and messing up any other of the protected areas there. Nice. So it really provided a really nice spot to get to. But we still had to drive through. We definitely had a bumpy shuttle launch.
I love that. That's so cool. Was it very much a case of once you were in there, it felt like you'd arrived?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, from the second we shut the door and hit the airlock button and started pressurizing down to Martian, from Martian to our habitat. And, we do that every time going in and out. But it was just like, wow, this is Dome Sweet Dome. We're here. Let's do this.
Nice. And the weather came in while you were there as well, didn't it? You had to...
Yeah, we were very fortunate. Our first week, we didn't have too much. But yeah, we had quite a bit of dust storms and they came in really quick. So, we could see them off in the distance looking out the one window or on any of our exterior cameras. And so we were very fortunate that we had Michaela there with her experience to where she knows that cloud's good, that cloud's not good. And so we were able to understand. And so we didn't get caught out in anything. But yeah, it did kind of stink when, one, you can't go outside, but two, me being in charge of all of our life support, I'm like, hey, we have to unplug some stuff. And so making sure that we had our garlic knots made while we still had full power and everybody charge up and everything, your computers, because we still have to work. And so luckily we didn't get into like any ultra power saving mode stuff to where we're like huddled in blankets around one another. But yeah, we did have some experiences where we really had to monitor that stuff, and then you get stuck inside and the dreariness still kind of affects you like it does down on Earth, where if it's rainy and icky outside, you're kind of like, oh man. And so we tried to make the best of each of those days where we had dust storms. And, like I've said numerous times, our crew was family. And so, we all had our little ways of making each other laugh and supporting one another. And it was just, it was fun.
So, Dave and I, we've found out that they're opening applications for other expeditions coming up very soon, and within obviously the next year. So, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's perhaps interested in filling in an application? I saw the application, and I can't do it unfortunately right now because I have other things during that time, but I might do it in the future. So, what kind of advice would you give?
The advice that I give is do it. Like whenever you have the opportunity, give it a shot. And it doesn't matter what your experience level is. If you're passionate and you have a way that you can make an impact, you are definitely capable and deserving of being there. Like we had talked before, Dave was like, oh, was this just like the best confidence booster? And I'm like, yeah, I was with 2 PhDs, 2 PhD candidates, and then here I am, a teacher. But it was so cool because, having all of these different people from different backgrounds, you really are able to help one another and, fill in some of those gaps. That being said, I am not a cook. Every time I try to cook, I hurt myself. But, I was like, I'm going to be a go-getter. So our very first meal, I'm like, okay, I'm going to cook this meal. Let's make some spaghetti. There were 5 people. I made enough pasta for 1 person. So we realized that I'm not going to be a cook. And so we are very, very lucky that we had Alicia and Serafina that enjoy cooking. And they had so much fun with it. And with baking, I mean, we had mochi, we had brownies, we had garlic nuts, like everything that we could find. They're like, oh, what can we do with this? And so I got to do dishes. Which really wasn't incredible because
that's me.
It's the yuck bucket. It's the 3-bucket system that we're using because we have to conserve water. And so, we're able to see what everybody's talents are. But yeah, no matter what your background is, if you have the passion, you can really make a difference.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I'll keep that in mind because I'm not much of a cook either. So hopefully somebody would apply to that who's a cook. So yeah.
And it's really different too, because it's all freeze-dried food, right? And so
that's right.
Everything is like dehydrated. And so especially if you are vegetarian, you have to find ways to get that protein. And so you want to make sure that you're eating like beans and stuff like that. But again, all the beans are dehydrated. And so you have to let beans soak for like 36 hours before you can even think about cooking them.
Oh, wow.
So pasta, some more pasta. I know a lot of them did not like the space noodles. I loved the space noodles. Put some chicken flavoring, like the bouillon on it. Oh, it was so good. Porridge every morning for breakfast. I've never eaten porridge. I've always been like, but we made porridge every morning. And it was jokes on what type of fruit we would put in it each day. And luckily we had lots of tea. We had lots of coffee. So that was one of my first questions is there coffee? And are we able to have coffee?
Yeah. Now I know why Alan Bean ate so much spaghetti because that's what they had. That's probably what they had, and I think he liked it too, but still he's like, yeah, why not just do spaghetti, man?
Oh yeah.
It's easy.
Spaghetti, rice, couscous, but they were, like I said, they were so creative. So they're like mixing things up and going with what we have. And, of course too, where whatever you have there is what you have to eat. And that goes to show that you need to do very good inventories when you leave, because whoever did the inventory before we got there did not. And they said that we had plenty of tomato paste left. And after that first night of spaghetti, we had no tomato paste for the remainder of the mission.
Oh, no.
I would have left.
I'd be like, bye.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know there's a shop about 30 miles that way. I'm going.
we made it work. Definitely the first meal when we got back, we all went out to eat together as a crew. And we were like, give us all of the good food.
I'd be like, give me the steak with the béarnaise sauce on it.
Now we're talking.
Give me something like that. Just the most rich thing you can find.
Oh yeah, I had fish tacos, and it was.
Now Emily's just got very excited.
Yeah, hey, but it's Tuesday, so it's taco night, right?
Absolutely.
It is taco night. Yeah, you saw my eyes light up right then. Yeah, that you mentioned it. Yeah.
In fairness, the diet you had on there sounds like my day-to-day life. Porridge for breakfast, pasta for dinner. That's perfect. That's does
You're
me
all
very
set,
well.
Dave. Let's
Exactly.
get you to space. Let's get you there.
Right. So, what's next then? You're sitting there and you've got this wonderful flight jacket on with your name on and your crew patches. So where do you go from here? And it's great for you to see you get back and Dr. Cyan Proctor goes to space, and she was on one of the first high seas missions. So you must be super inspired right now to keep going and keep pushing to become the next teacher in space, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Coming back and we got, we were able to talk a lot with Michaela while she was there, about missions that Dr. Proctor was on and how her experiences have helped her. And yeah, to be like, so where I was, somebody that has been here just went on this mission or is going on this mission. And yeah, that was definitely inspiring. I really want to do some more analogs. There are a lot of different ones that I've been looking up. I'm trying to remember who it was that you had on like a week or two after me that I heard when I got back.
Nicole?
Yes, Nicole. Stott for the Nemo mission.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that. Like, how can I do that? That sounds incredible. That's taking where I was to the next level, because you really do need the life support systems when you go outside. And I mean, it's important when we were in our suits and stuff too, because we were at like 8,000 plus foot elevation, hiking and doing all that stuff already in an environment where you're not quite used to is a lot. But being under the sea and doing that, like, sign me up. Anything that I can do to experience all of this, it's definitely left me hungry for more. I cannot wait to get into more opportunities like this and to really prepare for going to space. I will do it one way or another. I will go to space. There's not going to be any stopping me.
Amazing.
Sorry.
I believe it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Would you consider doing longer missions? How long do you think you'd be comfortable doing in such a position?
I think I could do a longer mission. The ISS stints are about 6 months. I do think I could do that. They're busy all the time. They have their daily routines. They have a ticker schedule, whereas the red lines move and they have to keep up with it. And so I think having that structure would really help. With our mission, we were doing, our different research and stuff like that. And so there was a little bit more downtime here and there. So, we filled that with crew activities and getting to know each other, playing games, watching movies, cooking. That was a big thing. And going back to the food off of that, with the freeze-dried food and why everything was freeze-dried and not the MRVs. Through studies that they've been doing at high seas and different analogs, they realize how important that crew time is of getting together, cooking a meal, because we ate every meal together. We were around helping each other out and stuff while cooking, but psychologically, that is something really important. And so that's why we had the different things that we could, kind of concoct with the freeze-dried foods instead of the MREs or like the meals ready to eat, where you just have to heat them up. And so that was really important.
So some creativity still required, basically, and a bit of teamwork.
Yeah, but just, having that time together is important.
Some friendship.
Mentally, making sure you don't isolate is important. So I think on a longer duration mission with the kind of higher ops tempo and like, this is what we're doing every day, in my experience in the military, I kind of strive off of that. My students laugh at me anytime where we have like a irregular day, whether it be, from ACT testing or any of that stuff. I'm like, man, I need my every 45 minutes. I know I'm getting a new set of students. Like, I'm getting that recharge. Like, I know what's going to happen. And when that gets taken from me, I'm like, what's going on? I need my routine.
I understand totally. I'm sort of the same way. I work from home, but I still have like a schedule, and I think my colleagues think that's really funny, but it's like, no, I totally get it.
Oh yeah. If I had fall break last week, and if I didn't have a schedule, I was like, so.
I couldn't be any different. I couldn't be any more different.
I have to have something to do or else I'll go nuts type of person. So I'm trying to get away from that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get that. Like I'm the other way around.
That's why we'd be good as
We
a crew
vibe.
together, is because we could kind of feed off each
We meet
other.
in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you
and-
meet in the middle.
Although I would annoy the hell out of you. If we were on that undersea one, I would just be walking around all day long going, under the sea, under the sea. I'd be Sebastian the Crab all week, or however long we're under there. I'd be talking in a French accent, probably getting in loads of trouble and thinking I'm a crab. And you'd have to deal with that. You'd have to deal with a 6'5" crab for 2 weeks. And that's why I will never get given a crew mission. And I'm hoping that they open up solo space flight for tall people.
Maybe you'll be surprised someday. Maybe they'll need that. Who knows? Maybe they'll need SpongeBob, a SpongeBob or something in space or something like that.
Yes.
I don't know.
I will take that.
and Matt said that the taller ones are better for the spacewalks and stuff. You got more leverage. So, but 6'5", I don't know, that's pretty tall. That's like over
big.
a foot taller than me. I'm 5'3". I'm tiny. So
I don't even want to say how tall I am. I'm 5'1". I'm 5'2" when I'm lying. When I'm lying. So I think my official height is 5'1", and I lied on my driver's license. So it says something else that's not true.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, like, wow, you're 5'4". Like, no, I'm not that tall.
That's one of the hard things about being in a high school is I get mistaken for a student a lot because of how small I am.
It's more of a low school for you, isn't it?
I'm like,
oh my gosh. Yeah, when I used to teach, and I actually did my my final, like, my internship at a high school, and everybody thought I was going there. And then there were the people who thought I was the narc, like the one, the cop, So I was like, oh my God.
Amazing. Right. Anyway, Emily, have you got any other questions?
No, I don't. I just I think that sounds like an amazing experience.
Same.
That it was absolutely incredible to hear about it. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something like that in the future.
Yes,
and
do it.
I absolutely expect to see you in space one of these days, and that'll be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Don't forget us.
Oh, never. I'll stream my Last Man on the Moon while I'm in space.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Love it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
I think it's a wonderful time for human spaceflight because I think we've finally recognized that it's not worth going unless we go together, that it's important to not turn away any innovative idea, that everyone has a role and everyone has a place at the table as we move forward. If we're going to go for all humanity and to support humanity's love for exploration, then we have to do it with all humanity. And I think we're seeing that as our plans unfold for going back to the moon, seeing the first woman walk on the moon in 2024, and just recognizing that we have to go together if we're going to go and we're going to do it right.
I need to sign up for one of those because that sounds to me that a lot of people are probably listening to this like, man, Emily's lost her dang mind. Why would she want to be cooped up for 2 weeks or, whatever? But it doesn't sound like it's being cooped up at all. It sounds like I don't know. I've been at sea before. So, and I think you're more cooped up on a ship at sea than you would be during this experience because you're with a small group of people. You kind of have to vibe well with that kind of environment, and you get to do EVAs and stuff. So I'm like, I don't see that as, I see that as probably a more fun experience. I don't see that as particularly isolating. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I was quite lucky when Britaney was on her mission. I was one of the people she was emailing, and it was always wonderful to receive an email from her. And knowing what she was up to was great. And every now and then she'd send over a photo, and seeing her in the suit and out and about doing her work, it was just amazing. It was just so much fun experiencing it. And she did talk, there were lows as well. There were highs and there were lows. Obviously, there will be when you do something like this. But I think those kind of experiences really help you build and grow as a person, right? Like you learn so much about yourself. And I know it sounds cliche and a little bit corny perhaps, but I think they're really important things to do. And I think she's really lucky that she's bonded so well with her crew and that they've become lifelong friends. I mean, we know that doesn't always happen. Look at the Apollo 11 crew, for example. Yeah. You know, it doesn't always happen. Just because you're put in these tight situations doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I know from touring, I know it's very different because you can get away every now and then, but you don't really know someone until you've toured with them, is what we always say. Like, you can be good friends with someone, then you tour with them, and you're like,
yeah.
So you learn a lot about yourself and the people that you're with, and it stays with you. Those experiences stay with you. So I think I would love to do it. I don't think anyone would like to do it with me, but
I don't know. I don't know. You seem. I don't think you're as hard to get along with. I think it takes different types of people to make these kinds of things work. Like, I think you need different, like, people coming from different levels. Like, when I say levels, I mean like people who have different styles of leadership and different leadership styles, different levels of experience. You know, I think you sort of need that, because if you have all the same kind of person working together, that might not vibe as well. Like if you had, oh my God, if like Gus Grissom, Frank Borman, and Buzz Aldrin flew together, they all would have shot each other. Okay. Because they all would have died. Like you know, they all would have died. It would have been like the death mission, and they would have killed each other. Now, if you put like Frank with somebody like Jim Lovell, you know, then okay, that works beautifully, because Jim is sort of a different personality. You know, he's got kind of a different personality from Frank, but it worked somehow. You know, I think about that.
The old opposites attract kind of vibe, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Jim's kind of more, you know, I wouldn't say outgoing, but sort of more, you know, more, I guess, fun, you know, whereas, you know, Frank is very like mission oriented. So I think you kind of need that in a way. If you had like the same type of people on the same mission, it might not end up well. You know? Yeah. You might want to just all murder each other near the end.
But that was a wonderful interview again, and Britaney is wonderful, and how lucky are her students? Just it's we said it before, but to have a teacher who has gone to those lengths to try and inspire you and show you practical applications for what you're learning, I just think it's wonderful.
Not to diss my teachers in school. I had wonderful teachers in high school, but it's really cool when you have somebody who's does something very unique in the field and comes back and sort of shares their, you know, how cool their experience was. And it is inspiring. I think, you know, I know as a high schooler, I was, you know, you're a teenager. I was very impressionistic. So I was very lucky. I think I had really excellent teachers, and they really, you know, they did impress on me a lot of good things. And I do credit them with a lot of, you know, what I did as an adult. So definitely, I think this is a great experience, not just for her, but to carry on for her students as well.
Yeah. When I was at music school, my favorite teachers were the ones that were all like high pro guitar players, had worked with loads of different people, and we'd have a set lesson structure we were supposed to be doing, and then you just kind of ask them a question about, what was it like that time you opened up for Prince? Oh, well, that was a great story. And then they'd just like go off and tell you this epic story about how Prince broke a string and threw his guitar at the roadie and run across the stage and jumped across the piano and played it upside down, and those kind of things were just amazing. Like, you could get people talking about those stories, and by the end of my time at music school, the new teachers that were coming in had none of those experiences. They'd just done the degree that I was doing. I was like, what? I don't want to learn from them. I can learn guitar on YouTube.
Yeah.
But it's those other experiences that I was thriving on and loving, you know, and yes, it's music, but I think to have a teacher like Britaney who can bring that flavor of, hey, I've done this, and I look, here's me in an EVA suit and working on this thing which I'm holding for you right here, and here's how it worked in real life. Here's a video of it. Just, that's priceless, absolutely priceless.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's going to inspire those kids.
Absolutely. I think that's really important, you know, nowadays, especially, you know, things haven't been easy in the last couple of years. And I think it's really important. You know, I don't think a lot of teenagers have had it particularly easy. I can't speak for what it's like in the United Kingdom. I doubt it's been much better over there. So I think it's really important, especially right now, to get the kids, pumped up again about life, and doing things, because, we've got to do it. I honestly believe, that's the generation, the teenagers are probably the generation that'll go to Mars. I'll probably be in my, hopefully I'll be alive, but I'll probably be, an old lady looking from the sidelines, which is fine. But, I really believe, they're the ones who are going to be doing this someday, probably, or hopefully doing this, so we gotta get them excited about it,
Absolutely. Right. So if you want to watch the full unedited version of that, which includes a dog call rocket, the video is up on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/space and things. And of course, in the show notes, we'll have links to Brittany's social media. And I'm sure we'll be putting some photos up as well on our own social media of her time at the High Seas mission. And of course, if you want to get involved with High Seas and do your own analog mission, there'll be links for that as well.
Yeah, you ever been to Disneyland?
Affirmative.
That was definitely an e-ticket.
Roger that, Sally.
And so on to this week's news stories. And as predicted, we had a mad rush of launches. 2 last Thursday on the 14th of October, one from Russia and one in China. Putting some more satellites into orbit. Check the show notes for more details on those. And then there were 2 launches, which we're going to actually talk a little bit about now. On Friday, the 15th of October, the China Aerospace Science and Industrial Corporation, or CASC, as we keep telling you, there'll be a pub quiz at some point, and I'm expecting all of you to get that one correct. Well, they launched 3 Taikonauts on board a Long March 2F G rocket to Tianhe-1, the first module of the new Chinese space station, which launched earlier this year. They're the second crew to fly to the station, and they feature Commander Xi Jingang, Wang Yapin, and Yi Guangfu. I don't reckon I've said any of those correctly, so moving swiftly on. It's the 8th crewed mission in Chinese spaceflight history. When you put that into context, it's really quite something what they've done. Their 7th and 8th crewed missions are space station missions. Like, historically, when you think like that, that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
It is, because, I think our 7th and 8th missions were not even... We were just trying to figure out how to, rendezvous, Like, we just want to meet up, and figure that out,
Pretty sure the 7th mission was just figuring out if a corned beef sandwich will survive in space.
Exactly, yeah. We were, trying to just figure out how to switch, change orbits and things. And, it was very sequential steps, okay, we're going to try to do this on this mission, and then try to advance a little bit on the next one. It was very, so that's incredible that they've even been able to do this. My hat's off to them that they've been able to. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to more updates on that mission.
Yes. Early in the morning on Saturday, October the 16th, the United Launch Alliance, or ULA, launched an Atlas V rocket carrying the Lucy spacecraft for NASA. This mission is quite something. I did see the launch a little bit from here. I didn't really get the best view from my vantage point. It's going on a 12-year mission to visit 2 different groups of asteroids around Jupiter known as Trojans. It is hoped that visiting these unexplored swarms will give us some answers on how the gas or the giant planets formed, as these asteroids are considered to be perfectly preserved time capsules, essentially leftover fragments of the early solar system. Now, the mission will see the spacecraft coasting for 6 years around the solar system and swinging around the Earth twice to build up speed to reach Jupiter, flying by 8 different asteroids. The launch went well. However, there does appear to be a small problem with the solar panels. A tweet from NASA's Associate Administrator for Science, Thomas Zubrucken, I think I got his name right.
Sounds good.
Said, NASA's Lucy mission is safe and stable. The 2 solar arrays have deployed, but one may not be fully latched. The team is analyzing data to determine next steps. The team has overcome many challenges already, and I'm confident they will prevail here as well. So let's hope they get that sorted out.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Apparently, they're not concerned that it will affect the mission either way. Well, that's what they're reporting anyway. But yeah, this mission is crazy, absolutely nuts, and I look forward to hearing updates through the next 12 years. It's just nuts, isn't it?
I know. I'm like, I'll be 55 when it finally gets to its destination. Yeah. Oh my God. Yuck. Okay.
There's a great graph which shows the mission plan in like a map form, obviously kind of not to scale or all of that kind of thing, but it's wonderful to see these loops of how it's going to loop back around the Earth, and then use different gravitational methods to maneuver itself around. It's crazy what this is doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I love missions like that, it's like they have these sort of, I don't know if it's complex, but they get a gravity boost from, going around other places. So I just love it. That's really cool.
A little bit like Bepi Colombo recently with using Venus to get closer to Mercury. Just amazing.
Or Voyager doing the grand tour,
absolutely.
and them having sort of that one limited window to be able to do that, you know? It's so cool.
Yeah, the planning. I can't even imagine how they get around planning. Anyway, closer to Earth, the International Space Station crew has said goodbye to actress Yulia Peresild and film producer Klim Shimpenko as they returned home in the Soyuz MS-18 spacecraft with cosmonaut Oleg Novitsky. The departure of the MS-18 also marks the end of Expedition 65 and the start of Expedition 66 on the station, which will be led by Tomas Pesquet, who posted a wonderful tribute to his departing crewmates, which I will be putting within the show notes. I'm now looking forward to the release of the film, which will be called Challenge. It's absolutely crazy that they've done this. However, just before they departed, the Soyuz MS-18 decided to not play by the rules after the flight controllers fired up the vehicle's thrusters in a planned pre-departure test. They decided to carry on firing for a few minutes in another incident similar to the one earlier this year that saw the new Nauka module was docked. This time the station had a loss of attitude control, but within 30 minutes, apparently everything was back to normal. NASA were keen to point out that the crew were not in any danger during this time, but second time this has happened in a few months. Not good.
That's not good, yeah.
It's just not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. That kind of sucks. Okay.
Yeah.
Back on Earth, after all the drama with Virgin Galactic this year, the company announced that their next flight will now not take place this year. The company had been testing some materials to prepare for the next flight, and one such test, and I quote, flagged a possible reduction in strength margins of certain materials used to modify specific joints, and this requires further physical inspection. They go on to say, while this new lab data has no impact on the vehicles, our test flight protocols have clearly defined strength margins, and further analysis will assess whether any additional work is required to keep them at or above established levels. They haven't given a target date yet, but this news certainly caused there to be a drop in their stock price.
Yeah, quite a dramatic one as well. If you're someone who speculates on such a thing, you probably had a bad week. But it kind of doesn't surprise me, this story at all. But I hope they fix it and get back on track.
Yep. Absolutely.
And finally, some good news. On Sunday, the 17th of October, a crew of 12 disability ambassadors successfully completed a weightless flight above California. The flight took place on Zero Gravity Corporation's G-Force One plane, great name, which flies in a series of parabolas to recreate weightlessness. The 12 ambassadors of Astro Access included people with mobility, vision, and hearing disabilities, and they conducted a variety of experiments. The long-term hope is obviously to prove that space is a place for all, an idea which Emily and I are very keen to promote.
Yeah, one of the people on the flight was a friend of mine who is on a Talking Space podcast at Sawyer Rosenstein.
Ah, nice.
And,
great podcast.
Yeah, and he's paralyzed, and I think he said I was able to stand up for the first time since I was 12, and
my God.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible, and I'm so happy that he got to experience that. And we really, on this podcast, we're really advocates for space for everybody, and I'm really hoping we see more people, like Sawyer, And like, you know, Haley Arsenault, who went up to space last month, you know, I hope we see more of that in orbital space flight to show that people can do this. You know, it just because, you know, you might not have something, you know, that a NASA astronaut might have, you know, it doesn't mean you can't do this kind of job, you know?
Absolutely. And obviously earlier on this year, we spoke about the fact that ESA have opened up a candidate position for someone with a disability as well, which, you know, is further proof that we're moving towards that and that this can happen. And I hope it happens quickly.
Yep, me too, absolutely.
One thing that I'm really excited about that I'm bringing to space is this old picture of me. This is when I was 10 years old and going through bone cancer treatment. And so when I'm in space, I'm going to pull this photo out and, you know, now getting to be in space, my hair is going to float everywhere, but yet hold this old picture of me and show all my patients, all these kids going through cancer treatment around the world that there's a future, that it gets better, and I'm excited to be part of it.
That's all we've got for this week. We hope you've enjoyed episode 60. Wow, I can't believe we're up to 60 episodes.
I know.
That is awesome. Thank you to all who have been sharing the podcast with your friends. It's been great to see people post photos of their pins, patches, and t-shirts over the last week. And we assure you that posts like that do make a huge difference, and new people do find us as a result. It really does mean a lot. If you're new here, we hope you stick around for a while, and we've got a lot of exciting shows planned for you.
We absolutely do. And if you want to get a t-shirt, pin, or a patch, just head over to our website. They're all there, and or just sign up to our Patreon page as well, as we mentioned earlier. Anyway, it certainly is all happening here right now at Space and Things HQ as we plan for the next few months. But right now, don't forget that in space, no one can hear you stream.
Space and Things has been brought to you by And Things Productions.